We walked up that trail in pitch black and didn't make a sound. The people at the fire below couldn't have seen us. So why? Was someone already standing right next to us? I want to tell you about a specific night in a specific forest outside Chehalis, Washington. But to really understand why it stayed with me, I have to back up a little. My family moved to a property outside Chehalis when I was young. The house backed up against dense Pacific Northwest forest, the kind that goes on longer than it looks like it should. There was a trail that ran west into the trees from our side of the property. A little ways down that trail, there was a natural arch. A cluster of trees had blown over years before and gotten so tangled together that they formed this tunnel shape, almost like a gateway. We always used it as a landmark, a threshold. You crossed under the arch, and you were in the deeper part of the woods. Now, the first thing you need to know about that part of the property is the screaming. Not an animal you'd expect. I grew up in the PNW. I knew what coyotes sounded like. I knew what a cougar sounded like. This was neither of those things. It was high-pitched and sustained, and it came from the trees beyond the arch. It happened enough times over enough visits that we eventually just accepted it. Filed it under. That's just what that side of the woods does. We never explained it. We just stopped asking. So, the night, my friend and I had been out somewhere and came home after dark. Fully dark. No moon worth mentioning. We were on the porch, and I dared her to walk into the woods alone. She said no. I pushed. She pushed back. We went back and forth about it the way teenagers do, each of us daring the other until neither of us could back down without losing face. Eventually, I just said, "Fine, I'll go in with you." She had one flashlight. Between the two of us, we stepped off the porch, crossed the yard, and entered the trail. We walked past the arch. We kept going. Now here's the thing about that trail at night. Everything sounds different. Sounds that would be nothing in the daytime start carrying weight. A branch settling. Something shifting in the brush. Your own breathing. We stayed quiet, partly trying to be brave, partly because talking felt like it would draw attention to ourselves. Though attention from what? Neither of us could have said. At some point the trail curved along the side of a hill, and that's when we saw the fire. Below us, through the tree line, there was a fire burning. Not a large one, just enough to cast that warm, flickering light on the people sitting around it. I want to be precise about what we saw because the details matter. No tents, no visible gear, no coolers, no folding chairs, no cars, no camp setup of any kind. Just people, sitting around a fire, in the middle of the woods. In the dark, we stopped walking. We didn't say anything to each other. We just watched. I can't fully explain what felt off means here because nothing specific was wrong, but something in my body clocked it before my brain did. That low, animal sense that says, you should not be watching this. We had been standing there for maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute, when a branch snapped. Not down the hill, not from the direction of the fire, right next to us, and then a flashlight hit us both in the face. I want you to understand something. We had walked up that trail quietly, in the dark. The people at the fire were below the hill, facing inward toward the flame, toward the light. There was no angle from which they could have watched us approach. No reason anyone should have known we were on that hillside. And yet someone was standing directly beside us. In the pitch black. Not below, not behind, beside us. And we had heard nothing. Not a footstep. Not a breath. Not a single sound of approach. We had no idea how long they had been there. A man's voice came out of the dark behind the flashlight. And here's the line that stayed with me for years. He didn't sound angry. He sounded scared. He said, "Get out of here. Go." That was it. We ran. I remember that run back being much longer than the walk in had felt. The trail seemed to stretch. We were stumbling, not watching our feet, not looking back. The flashlight kept swinging wildly. We made it out, ran across the yard, burst through the door, and told my mom. She listened. She was concerned. But there wasn't much she could say, because she was right. Nothing technically happened. Nobody made a direct threat. People are allowed to have fires on public land. There's no crime in sitting around a flame in the woods at night. But I kept turning it over. Because I know what I know. We came up that trail without making noise. The group below had no sightline to us. And someone was already standing beside us in the dark. Silent, knowing exactly where we were. I never found out who they were. I never found out what the screaming was. I moved out of state a few weeks later. But I think about that voice sometimes. Not the words, the tone. Because in the moment, I thought, why does he sound afraid? He's the one with the flashlight. He's the one who found us. What was he afraid of? And the answer I always come back to, the one that crawls up the back of my neck every single time, is this. Maybe it wasn't us he was afraid of. Maybe he was warning us about something else entirely. I have more stories from these woods. A lot more. If you want to hear the rest, the screaming, the other things we found on that property, follow and drop a in the comments. I'll keep going.